Well, good evening everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to Council's Planning and Consultation Committee meeting, and wish to advise the meeting will be live streamed and recorded. The live stream and video recording will be made publicly available via YouTube and on the Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located, and we value the significance of the Wurundjeri people's history as essential to the unique character of the Shire. We pay tribute to all First Nations people living in Nillumbik, give respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. This land was never ceded and its history never told, and that's changing, and we are part of that change. I'd now like to hand over to Councillor Frances Eyre to read a message of condolence for the passing of Queen Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of Council, I would like to convey our deepest condolences to His Majesty King Charles III, the royal family and everyone in our community and beyond who are mourning the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Her passing marks the end of a distinguished life devoted to service, duty, family and faith. Most of us have lived through a time where we've known only the Queen as monarch. Throughout her reign, she showed a strong affection for Australia, visiting 16 times. Her reign spanned a period of rapid and at times tumultuous society and technological change, but throughout she was a constant and reassuring presence. Over this time, she brought to bear all that was strong and unifying in her role and the institution she represented, while displaying an impressive capacity to recognise and respond to the necessary changes and evolution. The combination of strength, fierce intelligence, humanity and dedication with which she imbued her reign set a standard for all leaders and mapped a path for women in leadership. Her dedication to duty, to serving the community and to family are things to which we can all relate, regardless of background or philosophy, and they resonate strongly with our Nillumbik community. Today marks the end of a long life, a historic reign and the closing of a second Elizabeth era. Our deepest respect and affection for Her Majesty will live on forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Eyre. We have one apology to note tonight, and that is Councillor Stockman. Do I have a mover to the motion that apologies for Councillor Stockman be noted? Thank you, Councillor Egan, and seconded by Councillor Duffy. Thank you so much. We'll put that motion to the vote. All in favour? That motion is carried unanimously. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Are there any councillors who wish to disclose a conflict of interest? And there are none. Confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes, please? Who would like to move the confirmation of minutes? Thank you, Mayor Eyre, and seconded by Councillor Egan. I'll put this motion to a vote. All in favour? That motion is carried unanimously. Which brings us to officers' reports, and that is PCC 029-22, response to the public consultation for the Eltham Gateway project. And we have 4 speakers for this item tonight, the first of which is Sue Dyatt on behalf of the Friends of Diamond Creek in Eltham Lower Park. Sue, I think you're familiar with the technology here. If it works, it should. All right, you have 3 minutes and the room and Zoom is yours.
Jim Connor read my submission regarding this project to a previous PCC where I expressed strong concern regarding the concept plan, as it did not appear to reflect the wishes expressed in the community survey undertaken in November last year, that this project's aim should be an environmental renewal project using Indigenous planting to enhance the riparian zone along the creek, and also the location for a significant artwork to be enjoyed for generations to come. Thankfully, on reading the responses to the Council's Participate Nillumbik survey, I have high hopes that the final project will align with the original community aspirations for a place of quiet reflection along the creek and drain towards Eltham Lower Park, with adequate Indigenous planting undertaken both by a landscaper and with the 100+ community volunteers who've already expressed a willingness to help. The current weedy entrance to Eltham will become a revegetated, indigenous, natural-appearing place. Part of the informal planting should be of those plants that have proved useful to the local Wurundjeri people, with unobtrusive signage explaining their purpose. I would like to thank the commitment of council staff involved so far in this project, especially as they are working under strict time constraints. I will name Rowena Cairns, who is responsible for shepherding this project into being. Not only are there timelines, budgets and a myriad of organisations and processes to keep under control, but she's doing this apparently without losing her calm and humour. As Rowena well knows, I often, usually make observations and comments. There are a couple of points I'd like to make to highlight two issues that might need some further consideration. Along Main Road adjacent to Site A, I understand that the redundant feature fence will still be part of the plan. This should be the first item to be removed in order to complete all other aspects of the project in any stage one. Friends of Diamond Creek 20 plus years ago had 2 wooden boardwalks installed along the creek path. They soon proved to be a slip hazard in rain and frost and had to have been covered in mesh, which does deteriorate and requires maintenance. Once the trees have been removed and the path surveyed, it would be sensible to see if all the proposed boardwalks are practically needed or, again, redundant features.
Thank you, Sue. And unfortunately, as you're speaking on behalf of the group, councillors can't ask you any questions.
Short meeting.
Short meeting. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to ask Barry Pearce to make his way to the microphone for his submission.
Thank you, councillors. It could be a short meeting. My appeal to council re the Gateway project is to reconvene the design team and to request them to reconsider the aim and the design process with 3 guidelines in mind: reduce, simplify and strengthen. That is all.
That's all. Wow, that's a very quick submission. And because you're speaking on behalf of yourself, we are open to any questions from any councillors. Are there any councillors that have any questions of Barry? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Barry. Your 3 aims were very succinct: reduce, simplify and strengthen. But I'm just wondering, what do you mean when you say reduce, simplify and strengthen? What would you like to see reduced? What would you like to see simplified? And what would you like to see strengthened?
Well, thank you, councillor. The first thing I'd like to have the team revise is what the aim of the gateway to Nillumbik is. I suspect it's a gateway to, in a sense, the values of the Shire.
Sorry, Barry, can you get close to the microphone?
Oh, sorry, yes. I suspect it's a gateway to the values of the Shire. The values of the Shire are 60,000 years of Wurundjeri blood, sweat and tears looking after the land. To me, I don't know what they are to the design team. I'm a designer, I like to think, but they're the team. The green wedge is there, which is quite unique, and a lot of blood, sweat and tears. The Gateway project and the historical precinct represent a lot of blood, sweat and tears. We recently had neighbourhood character revisions and somebody reported that the summary was trees, trees, trees. And we're moving the gateway because of 6 acres of bitumen, concrete and steel. 8% of the world's greenhouse gases belong to concrete. And we've got 25 years of reconciliation. which I think goes hand in hand with the environmental preservation represented by all these other aspects of the Shire. So I think, to me, the aim could be simplified and reduced down to the Wurundjeri concept of country. I suspect maybe also and respect for community. Then if you've got an aim which the team has derived, which is as simple as that, everything that goes in there should be strengthening it. It's not large enough. The symbolism is so important, it has to be strengthened. And the only way I can see to do that is not spiralling paths, not education, not seats made of recycled trees from the site. Maybe they all work, but they only work once we have found a way to strengthen the concept of gateway to the values of the Shire, with the client being a whole series of people in vehicles travelling at 60 kilometres an hour. That needs a really strong statement, and a strong statement would be vegetation and certainly trees, and other things would then need to be judged upon. Do they strengthen the aim of the exercise? I could go on, but that's how I feel.
Thank you. You've delighted me, surprised me with your answers. So I'm on board with you regarding reconciliation and Wurundjeri. So thank you for what you've said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Any other councillors? Thank you, Barry, for that presentation. At this point, I'm going to ask Dennis Johnson to make his way to the microphone to speak on behalf of the Southern Gateway Renewal Group.
Thank you, Chair. I have my time starting.
Your time starts now.
Thank you. I too have a short presentation, but Barry has reminded me that objectives and statements of intent are really important to get going on a project like this. And the group I represent wrote down a set of principles, most of which are completely relevant to Barry's points. And they were to do with creating a sense of arrival, creating a transition to a slower speed environment on the road environment we arrive on, doing this within a treed environment, and doing it with an acknowledgement to the Indigenous occupants of the land. So as we move now from a draft plan to an almost agreed plan, it's my view that we should reflect on those principles to guide what we should do first, because it's critical that the community sees the implementation driving things that we set out to drive, and wherever there's a conflict of shortage of money versus our ambitions, then our ambitions to develop those objectives should drive what goes first. And it may mean that we need to leave certain elements of the plan behind this year or next year, but we need to prioritise stage one budget on achieving as far as we can those initial objectives. The other thing I'd like to really say is how fantastic it's been that this council and its officers have enthusiastically supported the project and the concept, and we've moved to a point now where the community is clearly behind the project, and I'm looking forward to that stage of implementation. So a big thank you to the officers and the council. From the Southern Gateway Renewal Group, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. And unfortunately, we can't ask Dennis any questions because he is representing that group. The final speaker we have is Sue Ormerod on behalf of the Friends of Eltham Lower Park. Again, Sue, I think this is not your first rodeo. You know what you're doing there. You've just turned yourself off. The same button again and the little green light. That's it. Great.
We look forward to a renewed, revegetated gateway to Eltham and Nillumbik. We'd like the concept plan for Site A to be modified to put more emphasis and funding on native and indigenous plants and trees rather than hard landscaping. Our written submission lists plant suggestions. We'd remove some of the hard landscaping, in particular the fence parallel to Main Road. Recommend instead some safety fencing and prickly plants where needed to prevent erosion of the waterway banks and for public safety. Rather than the formal meeting circle shown on the plan with the large rocks, we suggest using wooden seats in angled pairs, placed off the path randomly. They'll look more informal and be used spontaneously, which is more in keeping with the idea of gateway. We like the rain garden and the use of a boardwalk in boggy areas only to allow drainage and enhance amenity. A couple of balance logs well away from the main road would be fun, but too many logs could make the area look like a tree graveyard rather than the nursery for Eltham Gateway's emerging bush park. Words like bushy, natural and wild appeared frequently in responses to the community survey of 2021, and we support mixed planting and landscaping rather than separate gardens for edible and useful plants. The concept plan shows that Site A is accessed by a there and back gravel path, with its access near Eltham Lower Park's Main Road car park, but a winding path that takes walkers through Site A to join the shared pathway next to Main Road near to the Diamond Creek Bridge, would give the path purpose and still allow users to enjoy the plantings and views of the waterways. Eltham Lower Park's frontage segues into the gateway zone, and hazardous tree removal and replanting work was flagged as being in conjunction with and aligned with the Gateway Project's tree removal in Council's 12th July agenda for the Council plan. 9 trees were removed in 2018, and yet no replanting has taken place. There will be very few of the old conifers left in Eltham Lower Park after the October 2022 tree work. Friends of Eltham Lower Park urges Council firstly to begin preparing the area for replanting and ordering new trees as soon as possible, and secondly to ensure that the old trees on the Hones Hill side of Eltham Lower Park's entrance road are maintained, managed and conserved. These historic trees are well away from the Diamond Valley Railway's tracks and therefore not high-use, high-risk areas. The loss of the old conifers from Eltham Lower Park will be devastating for the community, so we would like to see at least one conifer planted within the council-managed land to replace those lost and to mirror the remaining old conifers on the Hones Hill Place House side of the entrance road. While we want to plant legacy trees for future generations, we also want to conserve links to the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Well, that completes our speakers for this evening. So at that point, I will ask, do I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Eyre, thank you very much. Could you read the motion?
I will, thank you. It's a bit of an awkward angle. I'll read it from my papers. That the committee, acting under delegation from Council, 1, acknowledges and notes the community response to the consultation for the Eltham Gateway project. 2, notes that a further report with revised plan is expected to be presented to a subsequent council meeting. 3, requests officers' right to all respondents to the community engagement to express council's gratitude for their contribution. And 4, resolves that the confidential unredacted copy of submissions to the exhibition of the public engagement for Council's Eltham Gateway Project Attachment 7 remains confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in section 31F of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you, Mayor Eyre. Do I have a seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Mayor Eyre, would you like to speak to the motion?
I would, thank you very much. This has come before Council a previous occasion, but I'll go back just a little bit. So this Gateway project will focus on rehabilitating and enhancing areas on both sides of Main Road and is a response to the construction of the new intersection at Fitzsimmons Lane. And the aim of this project is create a sense of arrival into Eltham on the Greenwedge Shire, actually in the Greenwedge Shire of Nillumbik, by reclaiming public open space on both sides of Main Road leading into the bridge. And as we've heard tonight, using Indigenous plants. So in addition to the 146 surveys we also received 18 individual submissions, and we've heard from 4 dedicated community members. So thank you for coming along tonight and sharing your views and support. And really what I heard is that this is to reflect community aspirations and a quiet place for reflection, reduce, simplify and strengthen, which is the values of the Shire. Principles of acknowledgement to Indigenous occupants of the land. And I'm really pleased though to also hear that council and officers have enthusiastically supported this project, and I would hope that they would have. This is a fantastic project for the community, but it's just going to be amazing once completed. And making sure that we replant trees that have been lost as well. So this will come back for a final decision at council meeting on the 27th of September, so that's actually in 2 weeks. And I thank all council officers and community for feedback, and in particular Rowena. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Just briefly to say, I'm really proud of our community and the way council have worked together on this project. Thank you for coming and speaking to us tonight, those of you who have. You know, Nillumbik is a place that we're proud of, and I love the way that our community comes together to ensure that we protect what we love and to make things better if we're feeling that they need to be improved on. And for this project, a sense of coming home, a sense of bushy, natural and wild, hearing those words, you know, really appeals to me. And as somebody that has been watching what's been going on in this area, I'm just loving the way that it's coming along with lots of trees being replanted. And I thank the state government and MRVP for coming on this journey with us to provide the extra money to be able to do this revegetation project so that our community can feel a sense of ownership and a sense of welcome to Nillumbik with the roadworks that have changed the way that we enter both the Banyule and the Nillumbik sides of this side of the river. And particularly for me, the meaningful acknowledgement of Wurundjeri is core, and I love hearing that the community say that that's important to them as well. So I just want to say that this is a positive project, and I'm really excited that it's going ahead and that we're looking to make it the best that it can be. So again, thank you, Rowena, for leading the charge on council side. It's great to hear communities saying how fantastic and enthusiastic they are and like working together with council on a project like this. That's great feedback and something that we would strive for on all the projects that we have.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Ramtran.
Look, most of it's already been said, but I just wanted to note that this has been such a wonderfully collaborative project. We've had a working group who've put so much work into this alongside council. We've been out to the community, we've taken feedback, and I'm well aware that officers have already taken that feedback on board and started making the changes that the community is actually asking for. So it really shows that when council puts something out for communication, it's not set in stone, it can change. And if the community asks for it to change, then council listens. And I think that's what this shows. So I'm really pleased with that. We heard that the spiral pathway was too much. It was almost turning the thing into a kid's playground. That's not what we want. We want that bushy gateway. We want the trees. We want we want to be promoting biodiversity in that area. And so we've reduced that. We still have the path going through, but we know that that's what the community's asked for. We know the community has asked for us to change some of the materials we're using. We know that they've asked for backs on the seats. A lot of submissions, I read through them all, and there really were some themes coming through. So just being able to show the community that we will respond to those themes and change our plans, I think that's really positive. And I'm really excited to see the outcome from this. I think what we're going to end up with is we'll never be able to restore what was taken away when that road was expanded by MRPV, but this project is really bringing some of that character back to Eltham. It's restoring some of that natural character as you come home into Nillumbik, and you can take that deep breath and say, well, here I am, I'm back home now, I'm amongst the trees, and that's what this is going to bring back to the community. So well done to everyone who's been involved. It's really going to have a great outcome for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Antran. Any other councillors hoping to speak? Just before I put it to the vote, I'd like to reiterate the comments that have been made. This has been a great collaboration. Thank you to council officers for herding the cats, as they say, and bringing everyone together in good faith. It shows what can happen when different parties genuinely want the best outcome. I'd like to thank Indigenous Design for, I hate to use the buzzword agility and pivoting, but they've been spinning basically non-stop. And I'd like to thank all the council officers that have worked to the deadline that we have got, which is there is pressure always to produce a result time and time again. I take on board the speakers tonight. Keep it simple, keep it beautiful, and think about what we do. And I can tell you that that's been very much part of the group that's been talking about this, to keep it as simple and as powerful as we can. At that point, I would now like to put this motion to a vote. All in favour? That motion is carried unanimously. I don't think we have any supplementary or urgent business, and I don't think we have any confidential reports. So at that stage, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to declare the meeting closed at 7:28 p.m. Thank you very much.